Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. Today we're going to talk about merchandise associated with the film Mandy, particularly one character, the Cheddar Goblin. I don't really collect Mandy stuff in general. I collect Cheddar Goblin stuff. But I am a fan of the film Mandy. I got to see it on the big screen when it was brand new, before really anyone knew anything about it. I didn't know anything about it. And I saw it in a big theater on a big screen with a full audience. And it was a tremendous cinematic experience. Mandy it stars Nicolas Cage. It was released in 2018, directed by Panos Cosmatos, produced by Elijah Wood. It's the story of a guy named Red and his girlfriend Mandy. It takes place in 1983. They live in the wilderness, out in the woods, and they're very much in love. And then this crazy cult comes to destroy their lives. The cult leader wants to indoctrinate Mandy into his cult. She's not interested in that. And bad things happen. And Red, Nicolas Cage, goes on a journey of vengeance to seek retribution against this cult. And it's a very, very violent movie, very bloody movie, very disturbing film. But it's also, there's a lot of horror these days that's very disturbing, and it's a real downer. You see the movie and you're almost, you're sorry you saw the movie. It's just so crushing and down and blah. But Mandy does a fantastic balancing act that used to not be quite so rare in horror movies. It seems to be rare now. It's very dark. It's very much a downer and very heavy. But it's also fun. It's fun and uplifting and downbeat and depressing at the same time. And it used to be, I think, horror movies, there were more horror movies that could strike that balance. And that was actually one of the hallmarks of the genre. Like the movies I grew up with, it wasn't so rare to find that. Now I think it is rare. I think it's very rare to find a filmmaker who can make a very serious, downbeat, bleak horror film and still make it fun and make the audience feel uplifted despite all the depressing things they just saw. Somehow it leaves them with an uplifting experience. And Mandy is like that. It's a very dark film. And I want to stress that it's dark because as you look at this stuff, it's very easy to get the idea, if you haven't seen it, that this is a fun movie. And it is. I just said it was fun. But that it's something maybe kids could watch. That it's like a lighthearted time at the movies, that you could have kids sit down with you and have a good time watching this kooky Cheddar Goblin and Nicolas Cage doing silly things. No, that's not the kind of movie it is. It's very, very, very violent and dark, and it's got funny moments. It's exciting, it's fun, but it's also nightmarish and disturbing and definitely not for kids. It's not fun for the whole family. It's fun for horror fans. But I would definitely recommend you see it. It's hard to describe what the qualities about it that make it so good, but it's it's a very dreamlike movie. It feels like you're inside a dream, inside a nightmare. Has a lot of dream logic, and you've probably heard all that before, and you've seen movies that have been called dreamlike, but not like this. This is very much like you plugged a cable into someone's brain and recorded their nightmare. And one of the enjoyable things about the film is debating and analyzing how much of the movie is really happening, or is it a drug-induced hallucination, or is it like Incident at Owl Creek Bridge? Is it the final thoughts of a dying person, or is it just simply an ordinary dream that someone's having? Does someone start dreaming early in the film, and is the whole movie just a dream? You could, with validity, choose any of those explanations, and it would be equally correct. The movie it includes things that make any of those interpretations valid. Maybe it's all happening just the way you see it. Maybe some of it's happening, some of it isn't. Maybe some of the later stuff is hallucination. Maybe it's all hallucination. Maybe it's all a dream. There's no answer. I have my ideas, particularly the very last shot after the end credits. There's some birds chirping, and then you see something, and you can interpret that a lot of ways. Well, why are we looking at this image at the end? The very last image of the movie. Why are we hearing birds chirping? And you could spin that many different ways. There's a very upbeat way you could analyze that, one meaning it could have. And there's sadder ways you could analyze that. So, but I kind of gravitate to that final shot. Like, why are we looking at that at the end of the movie? And I have my own ideas. I won't say here, but I have my own ideas about what that means. But I do tend to think a lot of what we're seeing is not existing on our plane of reality. That we're seeing, I don't want to say it's not really happening, but I think a lot of the movie is not this reality. But anyway, it's the kind of film you can analyze it and debate it and discuss it, and fans have been doing that for years now. So it's a cool movie, and it made for a good comeback for Nicolas Cage, whose reputation had been taking a beating for several years. And this was the film that sort of turned that around, and he's still on that comeback trail. But this was the one, I think, that was the turning point where people started taking him seriously again and being excited about hearing that Nicolas Cage was making a new movie. And I think he garnered a new group of cult film fans that were really interested in his choices and what's he going to do next in a way that wasn't happening a few years prior. So it's significant in that regard too, that it's a turning point in Nicolas Cage's career. And the director, Panos Cosmatos, it really put him on the map. Everyone's wondering, when is he going to make another movie? I hope he makes another film. This was his second film. I want to see another film by him. So, and it was the final film scored by Johan Johansson, who died before it was released. And he was definitely a name to watch. His star was rising in the world of film composing. And I'd heard of him before this film. I was already familiar with him, and I already knew this is a guy to watch. This is someone who is sort of breaking away from the pack and has something special. And unfortunately, he passed away. And that's another reason that, one of the many, many reasons that the film has some historical significance, that it, there's a lot of things about the movie that are special. So, everything I just said really has nothing to do with this thing, this Cheddar Goblin. What is this? What is this? So, there's a scene in the movie, and I'm not going to try to, I don't want to violate copyrights or anything, so I'm not going to try to cut the scene into this, but I might show you some stills, if I can dig those up. There's a scene in the movie where Red has just had, the hero, Nicolas Cage, the star, Red has just gone through a very traumatic experience, to say the least. And he's kind of shell-shocked, and the audience is also shell-shocked. We're traumatized too. And then he staggers into a room, and there's a TV playing. And it's probably the wee early hours of the morning, I'm guessing. It was right before the channel signs off for the night, because once upon a time, TV stations were not 24 hours. Sometime around like 1 a.m. or so, 1 or 2 o'clock, I think, they would sign off and they'd say, "We are ending another broadcast day." And they would have the national anthem playing, and then there would be static for a few hours until they came back in the morning. I remember that growing up. The TV would not stay on. The TV signal would not stay on all night long. There was a point in the middle of the night where it was just static. There was nothing on. The channels shut down for several hours. They ended their broadcast day, and then they'd start again, and they'd begin a new broadcast day. The announcer would say, "We now begin a new broadcast day," and they would have the national anthem again. They'd have like bald eagles flying and the flag waving. Not one or two channels, all channels did this. So that was what TV was. That's how it was. And the film Mandy takes place in 1983. So something traumatic has just happened at night, and he sees this TV, and there's a commercial playing. And it's right before they sign off for the day, but right before they do, they have this commercial. And it's a commercial for macaroni and cheese. It's this fictional macaroni and cheese product called Cheddar Goblin. Devane Cheddar Goblin. So it's a make-believe commercial. Well, I mean, it's in the world of the movie, it's real. But it's a television commercial for this fictional brand of macaroni and cheese. And you see the kids in the kitchen, and they're all excited, and they're eating macaroni and cheese. And then this Cheddar Goblin enters the kitchen, and they're sort of scolding, like, "Cheddar Goblin." He wants some macaroni and cheese, and he starts vomiting macaroni and cheese on top of the kids' heads. He's like, blah, and vomits macaroni and cheese on their heads, and they're laughing and carrying on, and they're chanting, like, "Cheddar Goblin, Cheddar Goblin." and then he rises up out of the macaroni and cheese, like a shot from Apocalypse Now. He rises up out of the cheese. It's like a vintage style commercial. It's very convincing. It really has the look and the tone of a old, early 80s commercial. It has the look and style down pat. The commercial, let me get the names right. This Cheddar Goblin commercial was created by Casper Kelly, who created Too Many Cooks. You've probably seen Too Many Cooks. I'm not going to hum it. And the creature itself was created by Shane Morton, an effects artist who worked with Casper Kelly on Adult Swim projects. And Too Many Cooks was made for Adult Swim. So they didn't direct the movie, Panos Cosmatos did that. They just did the Cheddar Goblin commercial. And it's this weird little oasis in the middle of this film, because the film is so dark and so disturbing and sad and scary and violent. And then in the middle of it, at the most dramatic point in the film, where you feel like, someone like Negan just knocked you over the head, this crazy scene comes that's just, it's silly, it's weird, it's out of left field, it's got this goofy character, and the main character, Red, is watching this on a TV screen, and it's like this, the universe is playing a joke on him. It just shows that it doesn't matter what tragedy or terrible things happen to you, life goes on, and the universe just keeps laughing in your face. It doesn't care, and the world just goes on. And it's a surreal moment that's so deliberately out of sync with everything we just saw and everything we're going to see next. And I heard someone talking about this. Who was it? Someone was talking about the film, and they put this very well, that this commercial, the Cheddar Goblin commercial, it gives us a chance to come up for air, because we kind of feel like we're drowning in this tragic, angry, sad, painful, terrible nightmare, or drowning in it, and it lets us come up for air for a moment and grab a breath and have a lighthearted moment and kind of readjust ourselves before we're pulled back down again into this nightmare world. So the Cheddar Goblin, he's funny, he's cute, he's silly, but he's really the only cute, funny, silly thing in the entire film. And he never comes out of the commercial. He never interacts with Red or the other characters. He's never in their world. He's never part of the main storyline. He's just in his little world of that commercial, and that's it. He exists in that little universe of the commercial on the TV screen. So this is an actual box of macaroni and cheese. You could cook this. This is a licensed official product based on the film. So this box is like the prop boxes that you see in the movie. And you see the little cartoon Cheddar Goblin. That's what he looks like on the box you see in the commercial. And it's interesting. I was reading about how they created this. They wanted the monster, the goblin in the commercial, to look a little more serious, a little scarier, but they wanted the goblin on the box to look more sanitized and silly. And I think that was the right decision, to have that difference between them, that the thing that's going to be on the store shelf at the grocery store looks kind of funny and it's softened, but the thing that's in the actual commercial, and the actual mascot in the commercials, is more grotesque and serious looking. So, but I was reading something I thought was really interesting about the production of this commercial. So Casper and Shane were asked to do this for free. Mandy's not a big budget film, but I mean, it's big enough. I'm kind of surprised they asked them to do it for free, but they were asked to do the commercial for free. It had to be done very quickly. And I think this was Casper that said, well, can we have a little bit of money? I don't know if we can do it for free. Can we have a little bit of money? So they were given $1,000 $1,000 to make the commercial. And they were excited to do it. They, there wasn't, no one dragged them into it. They wanted to do this. So they accepted for $1,000. They made this commercial. And they shot it in one weekend on location in a real house. And they sculpted, so I guess that must have been Shane, sculpted the Cheddar Goblin character in 4 hours. And they poured the rubber into the plaster molds on the set, on the kitchen set, as they were shooting the thing that weekend. They were pouring the rubber right there. And I guess they probably had to let it set for an hour or whatever before they pulled it out. And I must have been painting it right there. And the macaroni and cheese that comes out of his mouth, there's a couple of puppets they used, and there's no gun or anything that's blowing the macaroni and cheese out. They're just taking their fist through a tube and just pushing the macaroni and cheese out. So he's a cute character. In the Cheddar Goblin, there's a whole cult that's grown up around the Cheddar Goblin that's almost separate from the movie. I think most people like Cheddar Goblin are also Mandy fans, but I think he's got his own mystique that even if you're not that crazy about the movie, you might be crazy about the Cheddar Goblin. For a lot of people, he's their favorite part of the film. So let's don't destroy everything. Let's look at this mask. This is put out by Zagoni Studios. And this is a mass market mask. So there's been a lot of merchandising. For such a dark, weird little movie, there's been a surprising amount of merchandising. And Legion M, one of the companies that financed the film, and I think they're the main distributor of the film, they really pushed hard with the merchandising. I mean, you can buy Mandy anything. There's a lot of stuff that you can buy. I only buy Cheddar Goblin stuff. I don't buy, with one little exception you'll see, I don't buy all the other stuff, the Nicolas Cage or any of the other characters, or whatever. There's T-shirts and all that. I don't buy that. I just want Cheddar Goblin stuff. So I limit myself to that. And most of it is sold through the Legion M website. But there's other places you can buy it too, but that's where I go because it's all centralized right there. So this is a mass market mask, but when the movie first came out, there was a very high-end collector mask that was several $100s. And it was very limited. And I wasn't going to buy it. It was too expensive, but I was curious, and I did look into it, and it was already sold out. It was sold like that. It was just as well, because I had no business spending that kind of money on that mask, especially since later the affordable one came out. And I don't think it's the same sculpt or the same sculptor, but it's very similar. I mean, it's very similar to the expensive one they were selling. And it's more than good enough for me. I don't need some multi-$100 thing that's just gonna rot and crack in time like all rubber masks do, unless you foam it. And I'm not gonna foam it. But this is well made. I mean, it's thick, so I'm sure it'll last a while. It's made of very thick rubber. It's a very well made mask. Let's get a closer look at him. It's a good depiction of the character. I mean, that's what he looks like. They did a good job. Now, let's look at this. And you can see even the card carries over that macaroni and cheese theme with the blue, like Kraft macaroni and cheese. And from what I've read, the inspiration for the look of the Cheddar Goblin, I think the two main influences were the Ghoulies, from the movie Ghoulies, created by John Carl Buechler. That was one of the big inspirations. And Yoda, and you can really see with the ears the Yoda influence. So he's kind of a mix of Ghoulies and other John Carl Buechler creations. He's kind of a mix of between Ghoulies and Yoda. You see he's got macaroni and cheese dripping from his mouth. So this is a nice collector's mask. He especially looks like Yoda from the back. Now, this is the kind of thing I wish they would make. I don't know why they haven't. I wish they would make a Cheddar Goblin doll, not a stuffed doll, because I'm going to show you some things like that, but a rubber doll, like with a rubber skin and like a foamed interior, something like, you know, maybe this big with like the head and the body, with a rubber skin and filled with foam. It doesn't have to be posable, have wires or joints. Just I mean, Zagoni could do it. Just a rubber doll, you know, like so big, rubber skin, foam inside, you know, and a tag, whatever. I mean, that would be perfect. I think that's what I've been waiting for, something like that, or an action figure, a plastic action figure. Like, why isn't there a Super 7 reaction Cheddar Goblin along with other Mandy characters? I'm surprised we don't have a whole line from Super 7, or at least the Cheddar Goblin. But there's other stuff. Now, this is probably the only time on this program you'll ever see a Funko Pop. And I think this is the only Funko Pop I own right now. So this is Cheddar Goblin Funko Pop. And they do have other Mandy characters, other Mandy Funko Pops. I'm not interested in Red and Mandy or whatever else they've got. I just want Cheddar Goblin. I might get another one because this one kind of got beat up in shipping. The box is a little dinged up. There's Cheddar Goblin. And like I said, they do make other Mandy figures, and you see a couple back there. I think they have more than that, don't they? Yeah, they have more than those two. They have variants of those characters. That's Mandy and Red, but I think they have different color variants of them. I don't think they have any of the cult members. There's a evil biker gang and some other characters. I don't think they make those. I think they've got Mandy, Red, and the Cheddar Goblin. I've bought a few Krampus Funko Pops, but I've given them away as contest prizes. So at this point, I don't own any other Funko Pops besides this one. I don't even own the Jaws Funko Pops, or, you know, the Universal Monsters Funko Pops. And I like how they have his head like that coming up from the bottom, because that mimics him coming up from the macaroni and cheese. Remember I said there was an Apocalypse Now style shot of him coming up out of the macaroni and cheese, and that mimics that moment in the commercial. And this is from Legion M. These boxes are really cute. I mean, you could buy, I think people have bought quantities of them. I was satisfied with just having two boxes, two examples. And you see he's on the back. And they don't come wrapped like this. I wrapped this up just to there's food in there. There's a packet with cheese and all that. And I can imagine a lot of opportunity for it to go bad or for bugs to get in there or whatever. So I wanted to seal it up. But I really like these macaroni and cheese boxes. I think this was really clever of them to really make the product. This is the product that's advertised in the commercial, and it's got instructions on how to make the macaroni and cheese. It's just like the product you see in the commercial. Now, here is a stuffed Cheddar Goblin, and I opened this just for this video. I'm touching him for the first time. So yes, I opened a toy for this video. If you've seen the show before, you know I'm a mint and package collector. I don't open anything, but I opened this because, I mean, you couldn't really get a good look at him in there. So here is the official Cheddar Goblin stuffed toy. And he's got the the card looks like his macaroni and cheese box. He's got macaroni and cheese in his mouth. He's a cute little guy. And as cute as he is, I mean, why don't they make a rubber one like this? Or if not a rubber, then how about a plastic one? I mean, a plush toy is nice, but I'm surprised that we haven't had a rubber or a plastic figure of this character. Something that's more like what you see in the movie. I'm surprised we don't have that. I wonder what this little card says in here. It's Gobblin good. That's the slogan of the Cheddar Goblin product. That's the commercial says it's Gobblin good. Let's put him back. He's not the only stuffed Cheddar Goblin we're going to see. Get back in there, Gobblin. I wonder, I mean, the Cheddar Goblin's really cute, but I wonder if there's kind of a weird psychological thing going on with with how much people love Cheddar Goblin. That because, as I said, he comes in at such a traumatic moment in the film, and he's this cute, lovable thing. I think there's something psychological going on that it's almost such a relief to see this whimsical element that I think that might contribute to some of the popularity of the character. So I also just opened this a while ago for this video. I've had it for a while, but opened it just now, or an hour ago, so that I could show it to you. This is a stuffed toy of Red. That's Nicolas Cage's character, Red. And the only reason I bought this was because I had the Goblin. I thought, I've got the stuffed Cheddar Goblin, so I ought to have stuffed Red to go along with it. And I forgot what that weapon's called. He has something called a Reaper, but I think that's his crossbow. I don't remember what he calls this homemade sword slash axe. It's kind of an axe, kind of a sword. But he makes that in the movie. He forges that himself. I think it has a name, but I don't remember what it is. But that's a weapon he makes so that he can go take revenge on the cult. And that's a pretty good, for a stuffed toy, that's a pretty good likeness of Nicolas Cage in the film. It kind of captures his expression, his character. It almost looks like a South Park version of Nicolas Cage. So, that's red. That's the only non-Cheddar Goblin thing I've got from the movie. I just thought he made a nice companion piece to the stuffed Cheddar Goblin. Okay, so now, this I think is the centerpiece of the Legion M Cheddar Goblin merchandise. This was the first figural piece they made. This is a stuffed toy, very much like the other one we just saw, but it's a little bigger. At least I've been told it's a little bigger. Let's see if it actually is. Is it, or is it smaller? It looks like it's about the same size. I don't know, it might be a little bigger. It's a slightly different color. It doesn't have the macaroni and cheese in its mouth. So let's take a look at this. So here is the first stuffed Cheddar Goblin they made. And he comes in this lovely box, this window box. And it's all yellow, like the, it's modeled, it's designed to look like the macaroni and cheese box. And there's nothing on the bottom, just solid blue. He looks kind of sad in there, doesn't he? He's stuck in there. There's no macaroni and cheese. He went inside that box thinking he could fill up on macaroni and cheese, but he either ate it all or he discovered it was a trick to trap him, and there's no macaroni and cheese in that box. Can I open him? Let's see. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. It's pretty tight. But from the bottom, no, it's very tight. I don't want to bend it up. You saw the other one. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. He doesn't have the yellow yarn macaroni and cheese in his mouth like the other one has, and the color is a little different. It's a slightly different green color, and I think the size is just a little bit different. I think this one's a little bigger, but not much. And this was very limited. This version was very limited. It sold out quickly, and I'm glad I jumped on it and got it. This was one of their earlier pieces of merchandise, and it didn't last. It was a limited edition. I don't know what the number was, but it didn't last long. So I'm glad I got in there and got one. And I think it was because of popular demand that so many people missed out on this and kind of complained, and they got a second chance with this one. Doesn't have the nice box, but it's got the macaroni and cheese in its mouth. Yeah, it's different. You know, not dramatically different, but it's not the same toy. It's not just the same toy, you know, without the box. It's a slightly different design. So, that's Mandy. It's the Cheddar Goblin. Let me see if I can... Yeah, I know, I just put you back in there, now I'm taking you out again. Is it is there glare? Can you... What are we seeing? See, I never know if the light is reflecting off the stuff to the point where you can't even see it. Sometimes when I'm editing this stuff, there's just so much glare on some of these windows and plastic and things but I can't see that while I'm shooting it. So here's the Mandy spread, minus a couple of items. So kind of an odd choice maybe for an episode, but I don't know, I wanted to mix it up a little bit, not do the same stuff all the time. I thought this was a little different and was a way to get something a little more contemporary, not just contemporary toys, but contemporary characters. You know, it's not Universal, Frankenstein, Dracula, creature, mummy, etc. And it's not Freddy, Jason, Michael Myers. It's something very recent and very different and very much of its time. Even though the movie takes place in 1983 and it's got a lot of retro elements, it feels very 21st century. Well, we'll put these back. And it's such an odd thing to have all this merchandise for this kind of a film, because it is it's a small film, it's a cult film, it's very violent, very not for kids, and yet it's got all these toys and stuff. And I'm not showing by a long, wide margin, I'm not showing you everything that they've made. I've only got a few things, but they've made a lot of stuff. They've really merchandised the heck out of this film. And that's fine, I like that. I mean, you don't have to buy it all, but if you want, you can fill your house with Mandy merchandise. I thought I was just going to buy this, and that would be the end of it. But they kept putting out more Cheddar Goblin stuff. So if they want to get some money out of me, give me a big rubber-skinned Cheddar Goblin doll. It could be one piece, doesn't have to move or anything. Just rubber skin exterior and like a foam interior. It seems like a no-brainer. I'm sure Zagoni could do it. If not, I know Distortions Unlimited could do it because they make stuff like that all the time. It would be child's play for them to make it. So, why not? You would think it could be a Halloween item. It could be at Spirit. You know, you could sell it at Spirit. You could sell a bunch of Mandy stuff at Spirit. That's what I would like to see. And if not that, then how about a plastic action figure, something kind of like this Stripe, this gremlin. See, I honestly, I didn't plan this. I didn't put these toys out here as examples of what I'm talking about. I just said, what kind of looks like the Cheddar Goblin? Oh, these look, I'll stick these here. But now I realize these make my point exactly. Let's see if I can get these out here without toppling everything over. Okay. I didn't even think of this until just now. This is an example I'm talking about. He has in this case, it's more like a PVC skin, but it's rubbery, it's soft. And he's filled with foam. This is what I mean. Make a Cheddar Goblin like this. Make a Cheddar Goblin with rubber skin and a foam interior. He doesn't have to do anything. This when it was new, I mean, it's old now. This is my childhood crusher. You could smush him and then he'd expand again. But he doesn't, Cheddar Goblin doesn't have to do that. All he has to do is just stand there, and that's fine. Just make a doll like this of Cheddar Goblin. Rubber exterior, foam interior. Or make an action figure, make a plastic articulated action figure. This is Stripe Gremlin. Just give us something like this that's, of the Cheddar Goblin. It's hard, but, that's okay. I'd rather have a rubbery one, but I would certainly take this. Give us something like that. And don't price it at $100 or more. Price it, make it affordable. Price it like a toy. And I'm sure they'd sell quite a few of them. And I think there's a lot of people who want something like that of the Cheddar Goblin. Or give us, a little one, like a Super 7 reaction version of Cheddar Goblin. We need more Cheddar Goblin. I think that's the theme here. We need more Cheddar Goblin. Despite all this stuff, we don't have enough Cheddar Goblin. Get back there. There we go. He's probably going to fall over, but that's okay. And my creature's feeling left out. My AI creature. Make a little action figure of Cheddar Goblin just like that. See, I got you in the show. There you are. Okay. Well, there you go. If you haven't seen Mandy, seek it out. But if it's possible, if you have the chance, see it in a theater. Your first time watching the movie really ought to be on a big screen in a theater. I know it's probably at this point not realistic. Maybe after COVID blows over, hopefully someday, maybe Mandy would go back on the road, even though it's 4 years old now. I could see them still making that available to theaters. Certainly pre-COVID, I could see it. Now, I don't know. I think there was a market for it pre-COVID. I don't know what's going on with the kind of theaters that would show a film like that. I know we lost a few in the St. Louis area. We lost a few art house theaters and theaters that maybe showed mainstream films most of the time, but would also show limited release art house kind of films and revival films and things like that. We lost a couple of the, well, gosh, I mean, the one I saw Mandy isn't in business anymore. The one I went to see Mandy is not in business, and the one I went to most of the time to see that kind of stuff is not in business. So, I mean, we're losing a lot of those theaters. We were already losing them without COVID, and then COVID just kind of finished them off. That's too bad. I'm glad I saw Mandy on the big screen. So if you have the chance, see it on a big screen. It's not the Avengers, it's not Endgame, it's not Spider-Man or whatever, it's not Star Wars. But I would rather watch a Marvel film on a TV screen for the first time than see Mandy on a TV screen for the first time. Mandy was more immersive and more dependent on that theatrical experience than most of the big superhero space opera movies that I've seen in the last 10 years. At least for your first viewing, you really should try to see it on a big screen if you can, if you have the chance. I think that's it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel if you like this crazy content. For some strange reason, you've got peculiar tastes and you like this content. Subscribe to the channel and also join the Basement of Horror Facebook group. It's a really good group full of good people, and if you like the channel, I think you'll like being in that group and interacting with other people who watch this program. That's it. Until next time, Basement of Horror will return.